So welcome, my dear students. Now we are going to understand basically what is data interpretation in this session. Okay, we all have such kind of questions in our exams, and in our life, in our professional life somewhere, we deal with this factor, that is how to interpret data. So before we start with this, my dear friends, let me tell you basically what is data interpretation in simple language, in layman's language, to understand information and to put it through in a simple language. एखाद्या माहितीचा अर्थ या एखाद्या माहितीचा अर्थ लावणे. कोई आपके सामने अगर कोई इंफॉर्मेशन है, कोई माहिती का भंडार है, तो उसको आप उसका अर्थ कैसे लगाओगे, दैट इज व्हाट यू कॉल इंटरप्रिटेशन इन इंग्लिश. माहितीचा अर्थ लावणे. But then when you see data, that data could be graph, it could be picture, it could be characters, it could be bar chart, line graph. How do you understand and how do you explain it? It's an art. It's an art. And that art we are going to discuss in detail in today's session. How to qualify similarities. What are the things we should make sure that we avoid when we are interpreting data? So, my dear friends, in simpler words, the meaning of data interpretation is understanding information and understanding the meaning of information. अर्थ लावणे, माहितीचा अर्थ लावणे. Okay, data means mahiti, information. But we will see the difference between information and data. Okay, so data interpretation. Basically, we are going to discuss different type of data and how do we interpret that. Now we are dealing with writing skills, right, my dear friends? So how do we write about pie diagrams, pie chart, tables? How do we write about pictures? How do we decipher the meaning of tree diagram, pie charts, anything that is given in form of table, flow chart, picture? How do you put that into words? How do you write it? That we are going to learn through examples in today's class. Fine. So basically, let us understand the difference between data and information. Data could be any information that is available randomly. Okay, कुठलीही माहिती तुमच्यासाठी ती त्यावेळेला महत्वाची असो नसो, तिला म्हणायचं डेटा. ओके, वो आपके लिए उपयुक्त हो या ना हो, ऐसी चीज जो आपको भंडार के स्वरूप में मिलती है, उसे आप कहते हैं डेटा. And when you filter it, when you see which is important, which part is important to you, when you collect it properly, when you examine, when you filter it, that is called as information. Okay, so understand the difference between data and information. So if I am reading through a book and I want to understand merits and demerits of let's say internet, merits and demerits of internet, that is something that I am searching, and I went through many chapters in the book. Now I got this information in chapter 3. So far I have read 4 and 5 chapters, so all those 4 and 5 chapters would be data for me. What I want from that data is information, that is merits and demerits of internet. Now that particular information I would call information, not data. Okay, so when you study that particular data, when you analyze it, okay, when you study it in detail in order to reach a decision, then it is called information. Okay, ज्याला मराठीत आपण माहिती म्हणतो. पण ती माहिती उपयुक्त असली तरच त्याला आपण माहिती म्हणतो. कुठली खूप सारे रिसोर्सेस असतात. You have lots of resources around you, but all of them are not information because all of them are not important to you. But when you have a vision that, look, I am searching for this information, I want to search for this particular stuff, then what you do, you read, you analyze, you study, and then you say, oh, from chapter 1 I only want I only want important points, and those important points are information for you. Okay, so what is data? Data is facts, observation, your understandings, that is perception. Okay, data can be presented in form of numbers also, like you have lots of numbers written in form of percentage, or import and export, that is in form of numbers or in line graph and bar graph, export earnings, sales, annual sales, numbers, that is data. If you have characters in your favorite cartoon characters, your movie characters, and then you write a review on them, so that's a data for you. Characters is a data for you. Symbols, different symbols is a data. Images, they are a data. So any stuff, any resource that is in its raw form, कच्च्या स्वरूपातली माहिती, बेसिक स्वरूपातली माहिती, प्रायमरी स्वरूपातली माहिती जी असते ना, तिला म्हणायचं डेटा. When you process it, it becomes information. Okay, when you read it, when you understand the meaning, then it becomes information. Okay, I hope you get this. So let us go ahead. So data is in form of numbers, it is in form of pie chart, it is in form of flow chart, tree diagram, okay, table, okay. All this is data. Data can be given in form of characters also, like your favorite movie characters, cartoon characters. On that basis, you may write a review, you may write film review, you may write a story of the movie that you have watched. So you are creating information on the basis of some kind of source. So characters also could be in form of data. Interesting facts, any interesting fact, that is also called a data. So we get information from this data. I repeat, my dear friends, there's a difference between data and information. You get information from data. Data is a huge ocean of knowledge. But all is not important to you, or you don't need all of that. You filter information. You read, you study, you analyze to reach a conclusion. That is called data. That is called information. I give you an example once again, my dear friends. Just see if this works for you. What's data and what's information? Now, if if I am doing some research on effects of internet on teenagers, and I want to prepare a PPT. Now, I will go through a few books. I will go through a few links on Google, some research papers. Okay. All of them will be data for me initially. But when I filter, when I pick up important information from them, see, all of them I'm not going to pick up and paste them as my research. I will study them and I will come up with my own conclusions. I will study, I will interpret the meaning. मी ते सगळी पुस्तकं वाचीन, त्या लिंक्स मधली माहिती जी आहे तिचा अभ्यास करीन आणि मग त्याचा अर्थ मी लावीन आणि त्याच्याद्वारे मी माझे स्वतःचे फाइंडिंग्स काढेन. मी स्वतःचं माझं संशोधन करेन. त्याच्यातनं जी माहिती मी गोळा करीन ती माहिती झाली information. It's a useful information. I hope you have understood this. Data is in raw form, information is a dynamic stuff. Okay, you have a concrete meaning to it and it's channelized and it's properly presented. That is information. Okay, information is very important. Okay, information is the very core of our existence these days, right? So let us understand, how do we interpret data? So basically, why data interpretation? Why do you need it? You would wonder, why are you telling us all this? You need it. Okay, so what is data interpretation? Data interpretation is a structured tool of communication in written form. It enables readers to understand ideas, thoughts, and feelings. So basically, when you are studying a pie diagram of distribution of electricity among different sectors, you are doing a kind of a research की वीज ही कोणाकोणाद्वारे किती वापरली जाते, बिजली का उपयोग कौन 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 करता है, फैक्ट्रीज में कितना होता है, घरों में कितना होता है, कंपनीज में, शॉप्स में, कमर्शियल शॉप्स में कितना होता है, इसका आप रिसर्च करते हो. इसका मतलब क्या है, आप जो है कोई फैक्ट समझ में ले रहे हो. यू आर अंडरस्टैंडिंग सम काइंड ऑफ फैक्ट. Okay, here understanding data, how to interpret that data is very important. If there is a graph given about distribution of usage of electricity, you should know how to read it. ते वाचून त्याचा अर्थ कसा काढायचा, ग्राफ वाचून त्याचा अर्थ कसा काढायचा आणि तो अर्थ काढणे ह्याला म्हणायचं डेटा इंटरप्रिटेशन. Yeah, I hope you're able to get this. Okay. The data such as graph, family tree diagram, pie chart, bar graph, line graph, table can be processed and interpreted for better understanding. So what do you get it as a source of data interpretation? What is basically data interpretation? You will get tree diagram, you will get graph, you will get family tree diagram, pie chart, bar graph, line graph. All these things you will get, and you have to process information, process the data from these things and write them, put them on the paper. त्याला शब्दात मांडणं हा झाला डेटा इंटरप्रिटेशन. उसको शब्दों में लिखना, ये जो जो कुछ भी इंफॉर्मेशन आप पाओगे उसको शब्दों में लिखना, that is called as writing skill, that is called as interpreting data. Okay, so let us go ahead. Now, what is the significance and scope of data interpretation? Why do you interpret data? What if we don't write this down, write this graph down in the words? We can still understand it, right? You would wonder why are we supposed to write it? You are supposed to write it because when you put that data into words, it is easy for you to understand. When you put things down in words, it's easy for you to read. It becomes simpler. If I give you a graph, it has it has it has profits earned by a company in the year 2020, 21, and 22. Maybe some people would say, look, I'm not able to understand this, please tell me in simple words what it is. Then if you write it in simple words, you can make that person understand. You know what, tomorrow this might happen that in your company your boss might tell you that, look, I want you to interpret this data, can you tell me in simpler words what this graph means? Then if you are good at it, you might get promoted. If you are good at it, you will get better work profile because you will be so very good at your work. You can easily decipher information, माहितीचा अर्थ लावणे. Okay, yes, that is the reason this data interpretation, writing down the data in words is a skill. And it becomes easy for us to understand information. It can categorize, classify and summarize the information. थोडक्यात काय म्हणायचंय ते आपल्याला कळतं जेव्हा आपण पॅराग्राफ फॉर्म मध्ये ती माहिती लिहितो. It classifies and categorizes information. Two similar things, two different things, two opposite things, you understand. Okay, if it's a profit earned by a ABC company in the year 2021 and 22, then we can understand in which sectors the company has done good. Similarities, in which sectors the company has not done good, which are those sectors, which sectors company has done okay, average. Classification, summarization, very important. Okay, that is the reason we should be able to learn the art of data interpretation. And you know what, this is going to be the core of or in all walks of your life, your personal life, your professional life, your student life, everywhere. So how do we structure and process the data? Okay, so first of all, whenever you see a pie chart, whenever you see a bar graph, or if you see a tree diagram, if you see a table, if you see a flow chart, and if somebody asks you to write all that information in words, you have to learn the art of understanding it first. So read, study that whole thing, and then think what title could you give it to this. If you want to give it a thought later, you can do it later. You can keep the space blank and you can write the title later. Okay, how do you structure it? Now understanding is important, but this is the structure. So when you are writing information about a graph, about a pie diagram, about a table tree diagram, you have to divide your information into three main parts. These three parts are introduction, main body, and conclusion. Now, what is introduction? Introduction is very important. What that picture represents. What is it? Is it a pie chart? Is it a graph? What kind of graph it is? Is it a table? Is it a flow chart? So given flow chart shows, given diagram shows the distribution of two crops in the year 2020 and 21. I'm just giving you this example. Write this in 1 or 2 sentences. Then the main body, then you actually talk about that graph and talk about values and percentage, whatever information is given. The main information should be done given in the second paragraph. And write the third paragraph. Third paragraph should be conclusion. Okay, that is the last line, that is an ending, that's a prediction or conclusion, and it should not be more than 1 or 2 sentences. And you may use words such as in short, in summation, to sum up with. Okay, my voice is not, I'm not audible. This is what you're saying. Let me just check my voice settings. Thank you for informing me, my dear friends. I will just check my voice settings. Now, is it audible now? Like, is it audible now? You can just say yes or no. Now, is it audible? Saganna maza आवाज ऐकू येतोय? Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Sangeeta, just tell me, we are at the slide structure and processes of data interpretation. You can see it, right? Okay. 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 Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. So I was telling you, how do we structure this information? 3 paragraphs. My dear friends, it is very essential to write it properly. Okay. Always give a title to your writing. What title you can give? Thank you for your responses in the chat box. Always give it a proper title to your writing. Okay, that title could be distribution of usage of electricity, net profits earned in the year 2020-21 in India, whatever, like that. So title should be very catchy. Do not write title in full sentence. टाइटल है छोटा असलं पाहिजे, अट्रॅक्टिव्ह असलं पाहिजे. टाइटल जो होता है वो एकदम छोटा सा होता है, लेकिन वो कैची होता है, वो अट्रैक्टिव होना चाहिए, राइट? देन यू राइट द इंट्रोडक्शन. Okay, what that thing talks about, write in short. Okay, not more than 1 or 2 sentences, and the main information should be written in the body. Okay, that is the second paragraph. I don't want you to write these headings. These headings are just for your understanding. Never write these headings in your writings. Okay. And after that, in short, what does it tell you? Again, conclusion is a kind of a repetition of the whole thing, but that is in short. You write in short, in summation, in conclusion. You write like this. You begin your conclusion like this. The given pie diagram shows the progress made in electricity generation in the given years, which was the highest in the month of June, which was lowest in the month of December, whatever. So you talk about special information while you are concluding and finishing your writing. Let us do one. Okay. Now I'm asking you some questions and I want you to answer these questions. Pay attention, my dear friends. Now tell me, is this a graph? Is this a table? Is this, what type of diagram is this? Tell me. Is that a graph? Is that a table?
Pie chart, ma'am.
Very good. It's a pie chart. It's a pie diagram. Now tell me, what title will you give? Thank you. If you had to give it a title, if you had to give it a heading, what would that be? It's given in your answer. It's given there, right there in the bracket. What would it be if you had to give it a title? Think about it. It's easy. I have given you a clue. It's written in the bracket. What will that be? Think. ह्या पाय डायग्रामला एक टायटल द्यायचं आहे. जेव्हा आपण ह्याला शब्दात लिहू, पॅराग्राफ फॉर्म मध्ये लिहू, तेव्हा आपल्याला त्याला एक टायटल द्यायचं आहे. तर ते टायटल काय असेल? Okay, I will tell you. This is, you could use this as a title. Use of electricity by different sectors. Okay, you can simply pick this as a title. It's easy. Or you can say usage of electricity by different sectors. Okay. Yes. Percentage of distribution of electricity, yes, among different sectors. Yes, Kavya, great. Yes, Kavya Shri, yes, yes. So percentage, you could say distribution of electricity. You may skip the word percentage because distribution is given in percentage. So distribution of electricity among different sectors or by different sectors. Yes, Kavya Shri, great. Yes. So my dear friends, look at the pie chart, and I have some questions for you. Tell me Tell me which sector uses maximum electricity, consumes maximum electricity. Think, think. Yes, my dear friends. सब लोग सोचो सगळ्यांनी विचार करा आणि chat box मध्ये टाका, and I want you to tell me the percentage also. Which sector consumes the maximum electricity, maximum amount of electricity? Yes? Any guesses? Come on. Okay, I have answers. Factories, 35%. Oh, great, Kavyashri. Ramadevi, good. Yes. Now, which sector uses least volume of electricity? Which sector uses least volume of electricity? Least, least, which is opposite to maximum. Okay. Commercial and other. Yes, wonderful, Ramadevi. Good. And how much? What's the volume? What's the quantity of electricity used by farming sector? Okay. Farming sector consumes how much of it? How much of electricity? 24%. Great, Ramadevi. Good, Kavya. And how about residential sector? How about residential buildings? Residential buildings, they use how much of electricity? 25%. Wonderful. Wonderful, Deepika. Good, Ramadevi. Good, Kaveshri. So you know what? I asked you questions and you have answered these questions quite well. They were all correct. Hmm? Yes. Thank you, Deepika. Correct. So what you have to do is you have to present this information in words. That's it. It's easy. It's just that you should learn a little bit more about writing skills, but you're almost there. You all have given answers, and those answers were given by you. Those ideas came from you. I didn't do anything. I just asked you questions, right? So whatever information we have understood, we are interpreting data now. What we are doing now, dear friends, we are interpreting data, you and me both. ही जी माहिती दिलेली या माहितीचा अर्थ लावून आपण त्याला शब्दात सादर करतोय. ये जो आपको इन्फॉर्मेशन दिख रही है, इसको हम लोग शब्दों में लिखने वाले हैं. That is called as data interpretation. But there is a way to do it, right? As I told you, what should be the beginning? Should we start writing this or should we write something else? What did we learn in the previous slide? Can anybody tell me? Type in the chat box. Can I start writing factories use 35% of electricity, then farming uses for 24% of it, or should I write something before it? Tell me. What should I write? As per the study in the previous slide, okay, introduction. Yes, very good, Ramadevi. We have to write introduction. Wonderful. Keep it up. I am really glad that you all are answering in the chat box. So let us go ahead. Now, whatever we have discussed and you had typed in the chat box, that was all correct information. Now, let us see how to put this information in words. Now, so basically, you will give it a title, and that title could be use of electricity by different sectors. And then you divide the whole information into 3 parts. Okay, these 3 parts are introduction, main body, and then conclusion. Okay, so let us see how we do it. So what that picture is about and what does it show? The given pie chart shows distribution of usage of electricity by different sectors such as farming, commercial setup, factories, residential buildings, etc. What this picture talks about, 1 or 2 lines. You don't have to write this introduction word. This is just for your understanding. You don't have to write those words, okay, my dear friends. That is just for your knowledge, okay? You need not write this type of titles in your writing. Don't write them. Now, this is introduction. This pie chart shows a distribution. Next, the main body. Whatever we discussed and whatever you answered me, I asked you, let us write that here. Now, use different words. Don't just keep on using the same words. Agriculture uses 25%, farming uses or consumes 30% of electricity, then residential houses use 40% of it. Give it a combination of different words. You need to learn the art of playing with words. You have to learn new vocabulary so that you can use it here. So it is evident that maximum electricity is required in factories for various production processes, which comes up to 35%. So we have talked about maximum usage. And who uses maximum electricity? Factories. And after 35%, we have 25% of consumption. Who does that consumption? 25% of power consumption constitutes to residential buildings. Okay, now we have used a different vocabulary, constitutes. Constitute means कुल मिलाकर. किसका बनता है ये contribution? Residential buildings. They use 25% of electricity. Then how much electricity is used in farming activities? 24%. The commercial and the other production sectors show the least of power consumption, which is 8%. So both of them, commercial and other sectors, they use 8% of electricity. So we have written the main information given in the pie chart like this. We have written. Let us check what we can write as conclusion. Remember, my dear friends, conclusion is a repetition of the main idea. But that repetition is not, it should not be boring. It should not be, ये तो पढ़ा है, ये वापस क्यों बोल रहे हो? It should be presented in a different construction. Okay, let's see how conclusion is presented here in this question. Okay, what is written here? To conclude, you have to start your conclusion with such a phrase. To conclude, in conclusion, in summation. To conclude, the given pie chart indicates a clear distribution of usage of electricity. Factories consume most of energy, and commercial and other miscellaneous sectors use the least of it. Who uses the most of electricity and who uses the least of it? Important information that is already covered in the main body. You are just repeating it, but don't copy paste it. Use different words. That will give good look to your answer, to your writing skill, and the reader will find it interesting. Okay? Yes, I hope you have understood this. Let's try one more. We have one more. Now I have a question for you, my dear friends. Observe. Tell me what type of diagram is this? Tell me what type of diagram this is. Is that a line graph or a bar graph? Multiple bar graph. Yes, Ramadevi, very good. Can you tell me which mode of transport? Okay. Can you tell me the color scheme? Okay. What do you think light pink color show? Which year is described through light pink color? Light pink color. Which year? 2000. Very good. And tell me which year is shown by dark red color? Darkest red color. Darkest red. 1960. Very good, Ramab Devi. And which year is shown by comparatively light red color? Comparatively lighter. Comparatively lighter. Little bit lighter. Very good. 1980. Yes. 1960. Darkest red. 1980. Light. Little bit light red. I'm not saying very light. And then pink color is 2000. Year 2000. Now what is this? What this particular distribution talks about? It talks about, okay, different modes of transport. used by people in European city in 1960, 80 and 2000. Okay. So now tell me, I want you to tell me, my dear friends, that if you look at this particular mode of transport, car, pay attention, this is very important, okay, and this is very interesting too. Let's take example of this particular transport, car. Can you tell me now percentage of commuters? Commuters means people who travel. Commuter means people who travel. Can you tell me what's the percentage of people who traveled through car in year 2000? I repeat my question. Percentage of people who traveled in the car in year 2000. Around 38. Wonderful, Ramadevi, wonderful. I must clap for you. You know that? Good. So Ramadevi has given correct answer. How did we identify the answer? Yes, here. You've just taken a rough figure here. This makes 38%, around 38%. Yes? So 38% of commoners or people or commuters traveled by car in the year 2000. Okay. Now, I have one more question for you. This way, we should talk about each and every transport service in 3 given years, 60, 80, and 2000. Now, I have a question for you. Now, look at this sector, bus. Look at this mode of transport, bus. Now, tell me, what was the percentage of commuters who traveled in the year 1960 by bus? Yes, 39%. Yes, correct, Kavyashri. You could say 38 or 39%, both would be like acceptable because you just consider the rough figure, the round figure here should be like this basically. Yes, so you could say 38 or 39, anything will do. 38 or 39%. Yes, very good. So now this way, just like I asked you questions and you have given answers, right? Now, can we put all this information into words? But then when we are putting all this information into words, we have to make sure you use formal language, okay? Grammatically correct words, constructions, correct constructions, okay? And then of course you arrange this whole information into 3 paragraph: introduction, main body, and conclusion. But then you talk about all the transport sectors, all the modes of transport. How many people traveled by train in 1960, 1980, 2000? How many did so by car? How many traveled through tubes? Okay, tube is not the tube that you see in your washroom. Tube is a mode of transport. It's a kind of a train, okay, in European countries or Western countries. And how many of them travel through bus? Okay, so now for each mode of transport, you have a data for 3 years. Each mode of transport shows data for 3 given years. So we have to make a comparison. It's not that we will just write and it's over. You have to make a comparative study. Okay, people preferred, I should say 18% of people preferred traveling by train in 1960, while around 27% of people prefer traveling by train in 1980. And as the time passed, okay, after 20 years, the demand for traveling by train reduced and it came up to 20%. So this demand for trains fell. Okay, the demand came down. The demand was decreased. See how you can use different words. So one mode of transport, train, okay, in different years, 3 years, people liked it or people didn't like it. The ratio increased. More people traveled in 1980. Maximum people traveled by train in 1980. But then later on, with upcoming new modes of transport, this particular proportion went down. It decreased. Now, comparative study. I have done a comparative study of people traveling by train in the 3 given years. Same thing happens with car. Same thing happens with tube. Same thing happens with bus. So I want you to check the highest numbers and the lowest numbers. Okay. So you would say in 1960, maximum people traveled by bus. That was 38%. Okay. And in 1980, around 27% people traveled by bus. And least number of people, okay, that is 15% of people, only 15% of people travel by bus. Comparative study is very, very important. It is not enough just to state it, but make a comparison between two values. Okay, let us see how we write it. So when we are writing this, you will be writing information about train, you will be writing information about car, tube, and bus. So your main body should include these four modes of transport. Let us see how we write this. So basically you have to write an introductory paragraph. You give it a title. Now it's easy to give a title. See, this can be given as title, my dear friends. Baga, dekho, mode of transport and years. You may mention years here. 1960, 1980, and 2000. You can give a title like this. You have picked the title from the question only. Isn't it easy? Now let's go ahead. You give an introductory paragraph. Then how will you write the main body? So you have to write the progress that took place in all these modes of transport. That is train, then tubes, then cars, and the buses. Okay, how the change in popularity took place for all these transport over the years 1980, 2000, okay, and 1960. So you write about all these four modes of transport in around 3 to 4 lines each. And then you conclude the paragraph. Let us check how we can write this. Can you try this one? Okay. Now, I will give you some hints, some more hints, and you should write them on your own. Okay. You should be able to write them on your own. How you will do? You will write the heading, you will write the title, modes of transport and years, bracket, 1960, 1980, and 2000, bracket complete. Okay. Look at the question. How you will write introduction? See, the introduction, clue for introduction is given here. The graph below, so you could simply remove this word. The given graph shows different modes of transport used to travel to and from work in one European city in 1960, 80, and 2000. Your introduction is over. You have picked your introduction from the question. Isn't that easy? What this graph tells you? It talks about modes of transport in the given years. So write as it is. Easy. Now you pick up each and every category of transport and talk about it. Write about it. Write about percentage as just you picked it up. Okay. People use this mode of transport in 1960. How much? How many people? What's the percentage? And people in 1980, how many of them preferred going by train? And in recent times, that is in 2000, how many people prefer traveling by train? Make a comparative study. In which year it was highest, in which year it was lowest. Like this, you discuss about all the bar graphs, all the modes of transports, train, car, tube, and bus. Okay. So if you see, people hardly traveled by car in 1960 because cars were not as common as they are today. Least of the cars were used by people. Maybe it was monopoly of rich people because this was quite an old time, 1960. But then this use of cars suddenly went up. It went up in year. It went up in the year 2000. Okay, here. So you will say around 37.5, 37 or 37.5 people used car in the year 2000. So this shows sudden leap. This shows sudden leap in the lifestyle of people. People now prefer using more car. Like this, make a comparative study. Make a comparative study of same mode of transport. What is the progress in the given years? Okay. If you do that, you will come up with the highest numbers and the lowest numbers. Okay. Cars were not used that much in 1960, whereas these days most of the people seem to be using cars. Okay. Then this particular ratio is reducing. Okay. In 1960, maximum number of people used buses. Okay, this number went down in 1980, and this number has gone really down. It just kind of the number has decreased drastically. You can use a word. The number has decreased drastically. Lesser and least number of people prefer going by bus as on year 2000, because they have got another modes of transport. They have their personal vehicle like car, or they travel by train or whatever. So make a comparative study of each and every mode of transport, compare it for different years. This way you can present this information in around 10 to 12 lines. You can represent information in about 10 to 12 lines. And what in conclusion you will write? The given graph shows evolution in the modes of transport, okay, in the given years 1960, 80, and 2000. Okay, it generally shows progress. It generally shows progress in the modern modes of transport, such as car and bus. Okay, you will talk about generalized outcomings. This will be your conclusion. Fine. This is how you're going to write it. I hope you'll be able to write. Now, some quick notes, what not to do. My dear friends, when you are interpreting data from a table, from a graph, from a pie chart, what to do, what not to do. This is very important slide. Okay. Don't be in a haste. If you see a pie diagram, if you see a chart, a table, don't be in a hurry to finish. Don't be in a hurry to simply start writing. Don't do that. First, take time reading it carefully. Okay, analyze the question, study it carefully, observe all aspects of that pie diagram, that chart, that table, whatever. Write a draft. Rough work ज्याला म्हणतो आपण कच्चा काम, रफ वर्क बनाते हो ना आप, रफ काम करते हो ना पेपर में. Write a draft, write it in rough. What are your thoughts about it? How you're going to present it? Be objective, brief, and precise. You cannot add your own opinions. Okay, you can't say something is good, something is bad. You can't add your personal opinions and judgment. Don't do that. Never ever add your own views, your likes and dislikes, and your personal opinions. That is not expected in this kind of presentation. Be short and brief. Don't just kind of write pages and pages. Be very precise when you are describing a graph, when you're describing a picture, when you're describing pie chart or a table. Try to write it in short, but let it be effective. Okay, once your draft is ready and once you put these ideas down, proofread your work, check your spellings, check the structure. See, all the information you have added is related and important. Sometimes it happens that you add unnecessary details. And you add something that is not important. So you have to remove them. But when you will remove them, when you check them back, तुम्ही तुमचा पेपर लिहिता तो पेपर जर तुम्ही चेक केला तर तुम्हाला कळतं ना, ओ ही इन्फॉर्मेशन मी परत लिहिली है, ये चीज मैंने दोहराई है, ये नहीं लिखना चाहिए, तो पहले मैंने लिखा है. You're getting it? So you have to avoid repetition of thoughts. Okay, and you have to check that the thoughts are cohesive. Cohesive, there is a structure, there is a sequence. Thoughts are put down in the sequence. That is very, very important. This happens only when you proofread your work. Proofread means check the draft, read the draft, check grammatical mistakes. If there are any mistakes in sentence construction, punctuation, okay, you can immediately make the note there, strike it off with pencil, correct it, and whatever is the final work, copy it as a fair work. Your fair work is ready. There would be no mistake, no scratches, no grammatical mistakes. So making draft is important. Okay. Time management. Friends, I had met you in last two sessions, and I wanted to give you this. So I have come up with this reading. If you are writing an essay, if you are writing a review, if you are writing a written presentation on a graph, on a pie chart, or anything, this is what I feel. You should dedicate 20 to 25 minutes for the whole question. जेव्हा तुम्हाला एखादा पाय चार्ट, एखादा डायग्राम ह्याच्यावरती प्रेझेंटेशन द्यायचंय, रिटन प्रेझेंटेशन, ओके, जेव्हा तुम्हाला एखाद्या टेबल फैमिली ट्री वरती प्रेझेंटेशन द्यायचंय, तेव्हा तुम्ही किती वेळ ठेवायचा, आपको कितना टाइम रखना चाहिए, 20 to 25 minutes all together. Keep it for that. Okay, you would say, my god, so much of time, you will not even understand, so much of time passes so fast. How to divide time, friends, this is very important. I have taken some efforts to prepare this for you. Please be attentive. So how do you divide these 25 minutes basically? 5 minutes analyze, कुछ मत करो, 5 मिनट सिर्फ वो जो पिक्चर है, वो ग्राफ है, उसको एनालाइज करो, उसको स्टडी करो. एनालाइज इट फॉर 5 minutes, study it, take time reading the question, take time observing the picture, graph, pie chart, whatever. Then start writing, then write the draft. Start as if you have started writing that question, fair question, final question. Okay, write the draft. Write draft means rough work. Write in rough work. Do rough work. Once your rough work is ready, then you spend another 5 minutes in proofreading. Proofreading, checking your paper, checking your writing, grammatical mistakes, punctuation mistakes. If unnecessary information is added, remove that information. Once you proofread and once you are ready with your writing, then last 5 minutes, you have to write the final draft. This is the sequence and this has to be followed, because if you don't follow time management, even if you write very, very good, that will not make sense, right? So time management is very, very important in your writing. So now this is an exercise for you and I hope you will be solving it. This is a line graph and there are 3 values given into it. Okay, basically this graph is a line graph that talks about percentage of tourists to Scotland who visited Edinburgh attractions. So people who visit Scotland, okay, they want to see, they want to watch Edinburgh attractions. There's a place Edinburgh and there are lots of places over there to be watched. So what kind of hobbies, what kind of recreational activities people like when they visit Scotland? Some people go to aquarium, some people go to castle, some people like to go to zoo, and some people like to attend festivals. So you will check this particular value and you will accordingly develop your paragraph. This is to be done by you. I will just give you an example. Now let's check. This is zoo. This is zoo. What's the percentage of people who visited zoo in 1980? I will just ask you one question and then we can stop. Stop this session and have a break for 5 minutes. My dear friends, tell me, I need your answer in the chat box. Yes, Ramadevi, very good, 10%. It is very evident. 10% of people visited zoo in 1980. This way, you represent all the information in numbers, you represent it in words, make it 3 paragraphs, and write your answer. Yes? Easy? Sounds good? So I hope you will be doing this question on your own and you can come back to me if you have any queries. Sir, should we have a break for 5 minutes so that